I want to thank you all for being here. It's my pleasure this afternoon to announce the official opening of DataCuse, the City of Syracuse's new open data portal. For a number of you know, I've been talking about this for a number of months now. We did a soft release where we took comments and questions from the public on this, and we were able to take those comments and questions and move this into our new site that we are opening. We're really happy about this. This is, of course, a way to increase transparency, but also efficiency. And this is a way to allow the public to look at the services that the city is offering on their own time, when they want to do it and how they want to do it. This will also enable professionals and service providers to look at and make heat maps and GIS maps and do all sorts of systems and then overlay all sorts of different data to look at how policies are working. As Mike Bloomberg said and has echoed in my brain for 8 years now, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And what DataCuse does is it allows us to measure the provision of services, and will also allow the public to do the same thing. And so whether you are fascinated like I am with potholes, housing stock, lead paint, numbers of center mile roads, or perhaps even what that actually means, this is a site that you can go to look at the plethora of services and data points that we have available and what we do every single day. So I want to thank all of our partners who made this happen, What Works Cities, the Center for Governmental Excellence at Johns Hopkins University, and the Sunlight Foundation. And I think that today is just one announcement that you will be hearing going forward with how we can use data to operate our government more efficiently, more effectively, and in a place where people who use our services, be they residents, be they citizens, be they academics or professionals, will be able to access this to help measure how we provide services. I will tell you, as a last aside before I turn it over to Sam Edelstein, our Chief Data Officer, that one of the benefits that the city of Syracuse has is its size. It is a very manageable city, and so we are often approached by professionals and service providers who want to unveil their newest idea or newest program here in the city of Syracuse first before they go into a larger audience or try to unveil it into a larger group. This will enable us to do even more of that, because with this site, they will be able to do all the research firsthand before they decide to come to us or before they say, we're thinking about doing this. This will enable them to do all the thinking beforehand and then approach us. So I'm very excited about this, and as excited as somebody who appreciates data nerds but doesn't consider herself a data nerd could be. So with that, let me turn it over to our chief data nerd here, Sam Edelstein, who will give you a brief presentation about the details and show you how the system works. So with that, Sam.
Thank you, Mayor. So, excuse my voice, it's a little bit not great today, but I'm going to give you just a quick preview of what the website actually looks like, so you all can get a sense of what you can do here. When you log on to the website, the URL is data.syrgov.net. You'll be presented with this home page where you can start to search for data. So you can look for things like potholes, and then you'll be returned with a list of all the different potholes that are available. You'll also see that we break the data up into a variety of categories. So you can look at things by neighborhood or look at data that has to do with housing. You can also look for just different boundaries, so see where the different wards are, where the TNT neighborhoods are in the city, and you can get access to all of that information. So that ends up looking like this. We can see spreadsheets. You can download sort of like what you'd see in Excel. You can also have it returned in a little bit more advanced data formats. This is on the right is called JSON data. So for people who like data, this is fun and exciting to be able to go and download the data, be able to create charts and maps, and be able to create a website where it's calling to this data and it gets updated automatically. And so that's pretty fun, and I like this kind of thing. We also acknowledge that not everybody likes this kind of thing. But if you want to learn a little bit more, we have created some tutorials. So you can learn how to download the data and use it on Excel, or if you want to learn how to program a little bit, we have a tutorial to use Python, so you can pull the data and create maps with that. So trying to help people to use the data if they want to. But if you don't want to use the actual spreadsheets and you just want to see what does this stuff tell me and what do the charts look like and what do the maps look like, we've broken it up into a variety of different formats. So if you are interested in what's happening in your local, in your most immediate area, so looking at a TNT section, for instance, you can look at the Northside TNT group and you can see where upcoming road closures happening. And so we have a map of where all of these road closures are in the next year. How many potholes have been filled and where have they been filled in the Northside TNT area? So that map is available. Or water main breaks, same thing. So looking at that. So you can have access to what's happening right here. A TNT group, when they meet monthly, could look at this and say, now we know exactly what's happened through the course of this year. Also, we've broken it up by subject area. So the mayor talks about infrastructure a lot. You can see what the data looks like as with regards to infrastructure. So what are the roads rated in the city? You can see a breakdown of those ratings, or where are the potholes, or where are the water main breaks. You can have access to that on a citywide basis by everything having to do with infrastructure itself. The city collects a lot of data, and we're making as much of that public as we can over the course of time, but we don't collect everything. New York State, places like the Census Bureau collect data about Syracuse, and so we want to make sure that people have access to that as well. So we've provided links to different places where you can find data elsewhere that the city isn't necessarily responsible for, but someone who's interested in seeing, well, how does this data relate to my census tract? You can have access to that. There are also a lot of different community organizations that exist around the city that do really good work with data and technology. So we wanted to make sure that people knew what those places are as well, so we have links to that. One of the most important things is that we want to hear how people are using the data and what they want to see from this site. So we're asking people to provide information about the projects that they're doing, so that we can make that available, so that people can see the projects that they're working on, and so that we can learn how people are using data as well. So you can submit that information on the website, and we'll put that project up if you want us to. Additionally, some data is on the site now. We'll continue to release it about every month. But we're interested in what you want to see. So telling us, we want to see this specific type of data, we'll work to make that available. And knowing that there's a demand for the data helps me to make the argument that we should put more data up there. So that's all that we've got. I'm excited for everybody to look at the data and happy to answer any questions about it.
Fun, exciting data, all in the same sentence.
How frequently do you update it? You said like about every month. How do you keep it fresh and updated?
Yeah, so we'll release more and more data every month but the specific data that's already there is being updated on a daily basis. If it is something that gets updated daily, then it updates on a daily basis. If it's something that updates only once a year, then we would only do it once a year. But we've written programs essentially to be able to update it automatically, so we don't have a ton of staff time dedicated to doing that.
How many people are working on this website?
A whole bunch of people from a lot of different places. So the different departments that we've worked with to put their data up here, we've worked with them closely to really understand what that data is. Members of the Office of Innovation have all had a piece of this. And then we've talked with organizations like What Works Cities and the Sunlight Foundation and Center for Government Excellence, so that they've been able to give us some recommendations on sort of best practices for this.
How does it differ from the Syracuse City Line website that you guys have? Is this kind of to complement it, or both?
I'd tell you, my experience with Syracuse City Line is that most people are calling in for a finite complaint that they want fixed. And this is looking at an overall system. So if you have a pothole in front of your house or on your way home from work, you will call in or dial in or send an email for City Line and put that down. If you are wondering, how many potholes do I have? I think we have more this year than we've ever had in years before. Or, geez, there's been a water main break. How many water main breaks have we had? Or when are the potholes getting fixed? How are they getting fixed? These kind of answer those larger questions. That's for I would say, typical constituent. But you may have somebody who's got a project with sensors to measure potholes. And they may say, geez, we think we have the best program to measure, using our sensors to measure potholes. But New York City is too big for us to do. It's too congested. Let's go to Syracuse and see if that's the right kind of city. And they could use this, so they don't have to call Sam Edelstein or call my office or send us an email and say, we're thinking about doing this. They could use this right away to determine whether they want to do that. Or looking at public health issues. You can look at lead paint. Is there an overlap between lead paint and asthma? And if there is, does that mean that those houses also have mold in them? And so there are lots of community problems that we have that have multiple causes. And what this helps do is look at those as a system so that we can say, yeah, when you have a house that has lead paint, there's a direct correlation between having asthma. And so this is a public health issue. And if we are able to get in there and make sure that they get better windows so there's less moisture, that will help the asthma issues. And by the way, at the same time we do that, we remove the lead paint, then we are solving two public health issues with one intervention. Those are the kind of questions that sophisticated policy advocates ask, and then they can use this data to answer them themselves to see if there is a direct correlation, if it's worth thinking about in those ways.
And this was paid for with the Bloomberg grant?
Well, partially, but partially was paid for with our normal staff time and normal city resources. So when I first became mayor, we had the IBM Smarter Cities. We won the Smarter Cities Challenge, and they came in and they talked to us, and me in particular, about how much data we have. And it turns out that cities, in particular, we're data collection monsters. And the problem was that the data never talked to each other. So the code department data was different from the police department data, which was different from the fire department data. And so part of what we have spent an inordinate amount of time is making sure that we have systems that talk to each other and that we can use everybody's data to do this. And so whether it's the fire department or the codes department or the police department or Sam's time, everybody in the city has spent in one way or another part of their time helping get this website up and going, whether that's collecting data, whether that's thinking about what data they collect, making it a priority, sitting down with Sam and his team to talk about it, to explain it, all of those things. Anybody else?
And your hope is that this will continue on because this is the last year?
I think it has to continue on. We are clearly in a leadership position on this initiative, but in the same way that 10, 20 years ago, the first cities that had computers were in a leadership position, but they didn't turn around and say, oh, we don't want those fancy machines anymore. This is going to be, this is not just the future, this is now. And people are going to demand that they be able to see this kind of data in a transparent way. So I can't imagine that this wouldn't be a priority, because this is how people are thinking about governmental services in terms of transparency. And now that resources are as tight as they are, this will help you measure the effectiveness and efficiency of the policies that are put in place. Yes?
So this was about policy. I know it's one of the things that's tracking is lead. Can you talk about the program the city has to replace lead piping in some of the older homes?
We don't have, so we have gotten rid of most of our lead service, and that's the city's responsibility. There are a couple of older houses on the north side that have lead service, and we test them all the time, primarily because we don't have a water filtration plant, so we don't put a lot of chemicals into our water, so we have to test them all the time. But we work with people when they come to us and talk to us about whether they have lead pipes. But lead pipes, our main issue is lead paint in houses.
So like potholes, for
Yeah.
example, is it on the DPW to update that with where the potholes are and fixing it?
So the way that we have done this, because we fill a lot of potholes and it can be cumbersome to write down every single one. The truck that they fill the potholes with has a GPS unit on it. And every time that it does anything, so if it turns on, or if it makes a right turn, or if it fills a pothole, it logs a row of data. And so basically we take everything that it does and say, only show me when it's filled a pothole, and then we know where it is, what time it happened, and then we can put it on a map and say this is what it is. So it's all automated, so we don't actually have a staff member doing it.
So no one's actually doing it.
Well, they filled the pothole, but no, nobody's actually like entering the data.
Right, that was my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we figured letting them do the work that they're best at is great, and then the stuff that I want to see about, how many, which is important and I think they care about, but it's certainly not like their core function. That we wanted to find a way to make that simple, easy, and so that's how we did it.
And that's with like water main? What about water main?
Water mains, those are, because a lot of times actually what happens is we'll get a report of a water main and it's something else, and so they'll go out and they'll check it, and so they do end up entering it in because there's a lot more information about exactly what happens, how they're fixing it, what staff was there, so it's a little bit more involved. So they were doing that anyway.
Is it a combination of automated and some people are inputting them?
Yep. And then this site itself gets updated automatically. We're basically pulling it from the information from a bunch of different places and then saying put it up on the website.
All right. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.